Fuck you, Darth Nugget. Well, now, let's be clear. That is absolutely not from Pumpkin Jack, but it should be. Those two songs you just heard, one is from our very own Alex Plox, who is a member of Circus in the Sea, and he also has his own solo album out. You will see links to that coming up in the chat throughout the show. And then you will also see this new music from a band called Unrivaled. That was a song called Fiction from their EP Ghost Stories, which is all Halloween themed. I love it. This is also from one of our newest God of War members. Gosh darn it, I can't remember his damn name. Who is it? Hang on. You know why? Because he's one of those guys that's got two names in the chat. But in the Discord, you can find him under the name Logpaflum. I don't know what to tell you. That's his name. Anyway, point being is that's his band. He's the drummer in the band. That is called Unrivaled. And yeah, man, it's really fucking good. I dig it a great deal. So thank you to him and to Alex Plox for making things happen for us there. I appreciate it. I get it. I get some of you don't like it, but Darth Nugget does. Patrick's Raider does. I do very, very much. I love music like that. Wolfblood says, nah, the ghoulish punk rock stuff has been overdone way too much. Sounds the same. I love it. I think it's great, man. All right, here we go. Fuck you, Luca. All right. Let's just be clear. Let's just be clear. Enough of the hootenanny bullshit. Because Mr. K is basically saying, Jaffe's animations are better than anything on the stream. They're so good. Let me tell you something. Hello, Centricate. Let me tell you something. Those are not me. I must be honest. Those are from Trey Trimble, who does a lot of that stuff for us, which is just fucking phenomenal. So thank you, sir, for that. Throw on the ROTLD soundtrack. I don't know what the fuck that is, dude. I'm a goddamn grown-ass man. I don't know what the fuck ROTLD. Welcome to Gabbin' Games for October 7th, 1999. That's not even true at all. It's 2021. My goodness gracious, I'm old. Listen to me now. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to jump right in. I want to let you know, hello, members. Thank you so much. We have a brand new member who has jumped to the Cult to Calypso status, D-Zizzle. We will share some dope. Here's some dope for you, good sir D-Zizzle. And you're getting it from the Tree of Life from the Lord of the Rings. Later, I'll give it to you from the Sweet Tooth Pipe. Ooh, that's good dope. Take it in, baby. The point is this, though, D-Zizzle. Thank you so much for your generosity and your just community. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much, man. Listen, Chongo! Oh, okay, I got to tell you guys something. Chongo's here. We're going to start the show in just a second. Hang on. I'll be right back. Okay. Now, look. Thank you, Green Eggs and Sam. I love the name. Thank you for this first super chat of the night. I appreciate it. $1.99, Green Eggs and Sam. I'll pay that for Green Eggs and Sam. Thanks, pal. So Chongo, as I want to do, I'm kind of laying into religion because I don't like it. I don't believe in it. I think it's a lot of hootenanny bullshit. And he says to me, he says, Jaffe, have you read the Bible? Or as my kids call it, the Bibble. And I says to him, well, I read it in college for like a literature class, but I haven't read it since then. He says, let me give you a version of the Bible you're going to love. People are like, what the fuck show is this? But it finally came in the mail. It's this. The reason I got this one, which I was very interested in, is it doesn't just have the Bible, the New and Old Testament, but it also has the like archaeological connections to it and stuff. So it doesn't just sort of go into the Bible, but it's like, oh, hey, you know where they're talking about this? That happens here, right? So I told Chongo I would read it. I didn't realize it was a goddamn phone book, so I may have to just sort of skim through it and get the gist of it. But I don't think it's going to make me a believer, Chongo, but I do appreciate the heads up, and I'm an open-minded fella. If I read this and I get converted, I'll give you the... I guess you get like a get out of hell free card or something if you convert an agnostic or atheist to Christianity. So I'm right there for you, baby. Anyway, point is, welcome to the members. Thank you. To the non-members, I know people don't like that this is members only chat. Here's the deal though. You never have to pay if you want to talk. You can join our Discord. You can call into the show at any time. I'll bring you on at an appropriate time. You can always get your views heard and worked out here on Gabbin' and Games. One way you can pay is a super chat. You don't have to do that, though. If you're dry up on ducats or just don't want to pay me, no problem. But get on the Discord, call in, and be part of the goddamn show. Let us begin the show, though, with the news. There's a bunch of news today. Interesting news today. It's actually kind of just a related thread. But let me tell you first off. So the Battlefield 2042 beta came out this weekend. I played it. Some of you guys saw me play it. I think Spazbo jumped in there with me. And I'll tell you, last night I deleted it. That's how uninterested I was in this beta. But what's really interesting about this is I'm a noob when it not even no, that's not true. I'm not a noob, but I'm a total layperson when it comes to console shooters. I don't follow them. I play them every year. I'm more excited about Call of Duty's campaign this year than the actual multiplayer, which I know is what most people love. So my opinion is rarely valid on those things. So I was really surprised today to learn that a lot of gamers have been complaining about these two things. I don't know if you can guess what they are, but the two things that they dislike the most. And it's interesting. One of them I agree with to the point that I didn't even know it was a thing. And then they were complaining about it. And it was like, oh shit, that's even a possibility in this game. And the other thing I didn't have a problem with. So I'm going to tell you what those two things are. But I want to tell you that the complaints have been so bad. The complaints have been so bad that the EA stock today took a dump, took a dive, fell down the waterfall, thrown down the staircase. Thrown down the staircase. 7%. Apparently, the Reddit thread where they had a lot of hardcore Battlefield folks going online saying this is not good was enough to spook investors. They lost 7% on a share, which I think was comes to about $6. It popped up a little bit towards the end of the day, but it's still down. And this, by the way, is similar to when EA was hinting there might be a delay a couple of months back, and the stock also tumbled then. So this clearly is a big deal game for EA come this holiday season. I will tell you what, though, and I'll tell you what the gamers didn't like in a second. But what was really interesting to me is that as much as I am a layperson in this genre, I loved the Halo beta. I'm not a big Halo guy. I never have been. I am super excited, excuse me, to get back into Halo, right? So I guess now, because of competition, I have something to compare it to. Every year, it's usually you get Call of Duty and or Battlefield, usually both. And they both, to me, play as a layperson so similar that I don't really make a distinction. This year, now that I was able to play Halo, and now that I was able to play a new game that was recommended me on the chat called Insurgency Sandstorm, which if you happen to be looking at your screen, I'll show you what it looks like while we're gabbing a little bit, fellas. This is Insurgency Sandstorm. And I talked about this on my Twitter the other day, but this is kind of I'm not good at it. Let's be clear. I did play this with Spazbo the other night, and I got my ass handed to me consistently, but I enjoyed it so much. It reminds me of SOCOM. And again, I don't want to piss in the cornflakes of the SOCOM fans. I know to them it's like, no, SOCOM is this, whatever. For me, though, it's tactical. It's very tense. It's not like Battlefield where I was just dropping in and running people over with ATVs and I died and I respawned. I don't give a fuck. This was very much like I felt more immersed in the situation, and I haven't really felt that in a shooter in a very, very long time. So between this and Halo, I was very happy to dump the Call of Duty game, not the Call of Duty, the Battlefield game off my hard drive last night. But I will tell you, though, I'm not the only one who doesn't seem to be that thrilled. Here are the two reasons that people were complaining about this game, not Insurgency, but Battlefield. And I thought these were interesting because one of them, I didn't even notice it. Shut up, Brian King. Your cornflakes will taste good with or without my piss. Listen to me. Probably better. I'll bring you in a second, Ricardo. Thank you, bud. Let me tell you something. So, the number one thing they said is they don't like the specialists. Now, I didn't even know. That's how ignorant I am to this game. Battlefield 2042 has swapped out, this is from Wikipedia, I think, the traditional class system to include specialists. And these are actual characters. They have names, they have backstories, they're like human characters. They're no longer like nameless, faceless soldiers. And there's basically specialists who are in the recons of the class of Recon, Assault, Support, Engineer. While you can use any weapon with any specialist, they have different gadgets and abilities to make them specialize in certain situations. So one of them, for example, has like a med kit. The one I played, which was the assault guy, he has excuse me, fellas. He has a grappling hook, which I didn't even know really that was part of a certain class. I was just like, whatever. And one of the and then there's an engineer and support. I think support. Recon has a drone. Engineer, I think, has the big gun. Support has like a sniper. I don't fucking know. But anyway, and so one of the complaints of the two big complaints people are saying who are into this game a lot, they're saying, well, the problem is visually, and I'll show you this, and it's a good point. It's such a good point that I didn't even know it was a thing until I read the reviews, and I'm like, oh, right. Basically, I can be a recon guy, which has the drone, okay? Or I can be an assault guy that has the grapple hook, right? Or any of these other classes. But ultimately, they look so similar that on the battle, that's a great idea, Peapod. Peapod says, when do I get to play a journalist documenting the war? That's pretty fucking cool. But ultimately, they look so similar to each other that in the context of battle, it's not like a class-based game where you can see where your support is. You can see where your health is. Like, this guy's got a gun that shoots health syringes. I'm like, he's cool. I would have totally played that guy if I knew, it was a thing, but I had no clue. And when you're running around the battlefield and you need healing, or you're running around the battlefield and you need a sniper assist or whatever, yeah, anybody can pick up a sniper rifle, right? Or I don't think it's a sniper. I think it's a drone assist. That drone controller can have a sniper rifle, he can have an assault rifle, he can have whatever the fuck he wants. And so you don't really have any clue what their abilities are for the most part just by looking at them. The other thing they're complaining about in this game is that they can't tell, and this was a complaint I had in Halo, they can't tell who the good guys are and the bad guys are. So a lot of times people are friendly firing, killing each other on their own teams, obviously, because they're like, dude, I don't fucking know, because you can only sort of tell by a blue dot. Isn't that Team Fortress, says Peapod? Well, it's Team Fortress in a lot of ways, but Team Fortress, it's very clear who Pyro is and who the spy is. What they're saying is functionally it's similar to Team Fortress, but with a lot less characters, but you can't look at, like, if you're looking on your screen, there's this guy, Webster McKay, and then there's Maria Falk. Well, and then there's this guy. In the heat of battle, I don't fucking know the difference. I don't know the goddamn difference. And then isn't Halo just red and blue? It is Darth Nugget, but for me, I had a hard time with it because it's an outline around the bodies, and it was very hard to make out in the context of battle. In the heat of battle and Battlefield, I didn't have a problem with it, but that's the second thing that gamers were complaining about, right? The first one, which was interesting too, is the grapple hook. Grapple hook's in Halo. And the Halo grapple hook has its own button, or that particular type of weapon has its own button. In this game, I think I was having to sort of, hit the D-pad to bring up the grapple. So you can't kind of combo moves with the grapple in this game. At least I wasn't able to do it quickly. And so I didn't really fucking vibe with it. But anyway, these are two things. EA has said, hey, this is a month-old bill. We're making changes daily. And to be fair, these changes are easy enough to fix, by the time this launches on the 19th of November. But there was kind of a bigger feeling I had. There was a feeling I had in this game that was just, again, maybe it was because I've been playing Halo. Maybe it was because I've been playing Insurgency, which I enjoy so much more. But I was playing this and I was just kind of like, Like I literally had fun being a shithead and crashing helicopters into the ground for about the first 20 minutes. And then I was pretty much done. And so I don't know, man. I mean, the game looks great. It's huge environment. It's clearly, it's buggy still, but it's clearly a well-made game, an ambitious game, an expensive game. But it feels like the kind of game that doesn't really have a great deal of innovation or inspiration under the hood. It just feels, it feels like a brand new coat of paint slapped onto, a shooter you've been playing for a very, very long time. Wolfblood says, yeah, I had the same problem. Zafaric says they still have classes and you can make any specialist one of them. Okay, right. So in the new Battlefield, you can be a sniper, engineer, whatever, and then I can choose one of these guys to bring their drone or their sniper or their grappling hook or whatever into that particular class, which I guess on paper sounds really deep and interesting, and it might be. I wasn't even aware of it. So now hopefully they will address these issues and make them more visually distinct so I can look at someone and go, that's the medic, basically. Rob the Mod is here. You guys know Rob the Mod has been down in the bayou dealing with the hurricane season. Sounds like AT&T is coming back to visit good Sir Rob next month. Is that right? And so he will be back with us. You should see some of the shit this motherfucker is putting out for his video game that he is making, a one-man video game. Anybody watching this stream that thinks about maybe I want to go make video games, well, Rob the Mod is the inspiration you need. He's building it. I think you're doing it in Unreal, right? It's not Unity, is it? And it looks really good. It looks really fun. And the motherfuckers just said, fuck it, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do it. So check it out. Take a look. Mr. K, thank you so much for being a member of the Diet Soda Soldiers for 3 months. I don't know what that is you just wrote, but you still get some dope. There you go. Smoke the dope, bitch. Thank you so much, Mr. K, for everything you do for our community. I appreciate it, buddy. All right. Wolfblood says, going back to the shooters, he says, all the shooters feel like that, Jaffe, or I've just lost interest when I'm defaulting to Call of Duty. Well, again, I have no interest in Call of Duty this year. I did play a little bit of Warzone's, whatever that circle jerk battle was, that mode where everybody starts in a circle. And I thought it was fun, but it's nothing I want to give much time to. But I will play their campaign. And then Battlefield is already off my hard drive. But Halo I'm into. And Insurgency is fucking great. Fucking great. Peapod says, after playing the beta, I can no longer get it up for the ladies. Well, Peapod, you can keep telling yourself that, but from what I hear on the internets, that is sort of been a problem well before this beta came out. Okay, so sorry about that, pal. Let's move on. I want to tell you guys something. Big Bad Jim Ryan appeared at the GameIndustry.biz European Summit. They call it GI Live London. And he sits on stage. You can watch this. Let me give you the link if you want to see this. They have it on YouTube. He sits on the stage there, and he's interviewed, and he basically gives his I Have a Dream speech all about video games, okay? And I'm going to tell you there it is. I put it in the link in the chat. I'll tell you his dream, and then I'll tell you the only two ways I can come up with to allow this man to get the dream of which he speaks, because it ain't going to be easy. And I don't even think it's possible. I don't even think it's possible. At least not with what they're doing. So let me tell you what he says. This is a quote from good Sir Good Sir Jimmy Ryan. He says, this is from the article in Game Informer, Game Industry Biz. In a keynote fireside chat, PlayStation boss says that a hit game on PS4 or PS5 is around 10 to 20 million sales. But he hopes that will change as gaming becomes as ubiquitous as movies and music. Listen to this. This is the quote from Jim. I hope the PlayStation 5, and I really believe the PlayStation 5 will be Sony's biggest and best and most loved PlayStation yet. I hope that'll happen, he said. I would also like to see a world where the games that we make at PlayStation can be enjoyed by many tens of millions of people. Perhaps hundreds of millions of people. Now, right now, success with the current console model, a really great PlayStation hit, you're talking 10 to 20 million people being able to play. We're talking about games stacking up against music, says Jimbo. We're talking about games stacking up against movies. Movies and music, they can be enjoyed by almost limitless audiences. Limitless audiences. And I think some of the art that our studios are making is some of the finest entertainment that has been made anywhere in the world. Okay. And to kind of gate the audience for the wonderful art, wonderful entertainment that our studios are making, to gate the audience for that at 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I would love to see a world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy these games. Okay, now, I'm not laughing at the fact that he thinks the products they make are fantastic. Of course, there's some wonderful games. I don't know if I would stack them up against the finest entertainment that is made anywhere in the world, but that's a different debate. But anyway, his goal, while noble, look, you tell me if you can come up with another way to pull this off, right? So both solves to this have a prerequisite. The prerequisite is you got to make the games easier to get at. See, I think the solution to this is going to end up pissing off a lot of core PlayStation gamers. If this is actually, I don't think Jim's saying, I'm sitting here and I'm going to be making changes to get to this goal, because here's what he would have to do. He would have to first off embrace the cloud or give away PlayStation consoles for free or really fucking cheap. You got to make the games easier to get, okay? The reason that people watch movies and music is you can watch those on pretty much anything. Either that or become a third-party publisher. You can watch movies and listen to music on a gajillion devices. You can play Uncharted 4 or Last of Us 2 or, Death Stranding Director's Cut on one device. That one, PS5, I guess it was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, PS5. So no matter, even if he sold 120 million PS5s like they sold, even if he sold that, which was the PS4 sales, if he sold 200 million PS5s, you're not going to get the attach rate per game that's going to get him to have his fantasy, right? But so you got to make the games easier to play, whether that's streaming to a television, whether that's going third party, putting them on, I don't fucking know, but you got to fucking do that. Here's the two for either one of these solves, but here's solve A. Okay, Ricardo, I'll bring you right in. I thought you had gone. I'll bring you in. You got to either A, make more people fall in love and stay in love with games as they age. So far, even with all the improvements in games, Sean Layden came out a couple of months ago and said the cost of video games keep rising with it doubling every generation. So now we're at about 200 million budgets for most AAA, more for a lot. He says not sustainable because the console business has been stuck around 240 to 260 million players since the 1990s. That's when I got into the business. So I roll into the business, in 95, mid-90s, and the number of people who play console games hasn't grown. So you're either got to figure out a way to keep your audience or grow the audience. But I agree in the chat with Brian that he says you still need a controller, which is already a barrier as high as a secondhand console. I totally agree. I totally agree. That is a problem, which leads us to the other solve, which is make the easier to play games and less about the games that PlayStation fans love. Playing games for most people, right? Like if you look at any games, if you look at like people who play Uno or Monopoly versus people who play Settlers of Catan or even beyond that, like really interesting Gloomhaven or whatnot, Uno dwarfs the fuck out of those games, as great as those deep games are. It's the same thing in console, right? Unless you're a kid or a hardcore gamer, Uncharted and Mario after an age is just not what most people are willing to play. So you either, I was thinking about this, it's like, it almost feels like it's between like, playing a game for someone who doesn't love games or know games or is used to games is kind of like playing. It's like reading a book that's good. It's pretty good. It's kind of hard to put down. It's not one of those books like I can't stop reading it, but it's pretty good. It's between that and learning to play an instrument, right? That's what playing a game is like for most people, video game wise, in terms of console games. So you either have to make the games easier to play, and you have to make them easier to get, or you have to make them easier to get, and you have to make people somehow stay in love with the games and not age out of a lot of these games. Now, I hate to tell you this, I hate to say this, and you're not going to like it, but there is a company out there that has achieved this dream, and Brian King's got it. Brian King's absolutely got it. I'll let him bury the lead, or I'll let him hit the lead. He says they might just need a huge mobile division, and that can be the huge moneymaker, but still cater to console gamers as a reliable income. Yeah, because here's the deal. I'm not trying to sell you on it, but Apple, and beyond that, mobile phones. This is from the India Times. Today, when we think of some of the biggest names in games, this is what the India Times writing, Sony, Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, and Nintendo come to mind. However, Apple has managed to earn more money from gaming than the thing. But listen to them, I'm going to say it. Get this in your brain pan. Apple has managed to earn more money from gaming than the operating incomes of all those four companies combined in 2019, 2020. Activision, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo combined, they made more goddamn money from their video game division. Their video game division is the bulk of the money they make. 69% of the money they make from the App Store comes from the video games. So, I don't know, man. I think ultimately, when you hear Jim Ryan talking about that, I think if it's one of those things where we're at a point technologically where I don't think anybody who's watching this stream or anybody who will be watching this stream, in the next 30 years is, unless you're watching it like on some kind of, history class. Can you imagine? Why would they show this? But you're not going to see what Jim Ryan needs. We basically need, what he is saying is absolutely correct, which is that games are amazing and games will be the dominant form of storytelling and entertainment in the future. However, you've got to it's got to be brain implants. It's got to be Elon Musk Neuralink. It's got to be VR. It's got to be simple controls. And more important than any of that, it's got to be procedurally generated like the holodeck. You've got to allow your mother-in-law to easily get into a game that might be about World War II, and she happens to see a handsome soldier on the battlefield. Let's say she's playing a nurse or something, and it becomes a love story because that's what the AI recognizes she wants it to be for the next 2 hours. Or you're a hardcore gamer, and it stays this amazing simulation of being at D-Day on the beaches of Normandy. That is the only way to do this. And maybe you can kind of you'll probably have creators that are creating kind of a bowling alley lanes and say, I'm the Kojima of the future. This is my vision. These are my characters. These are the big points I want you to hit. But the game's got to unfold based on the player's actions. It can't be, oh, I'm your mother-in-law and I'm stuck here. I don't know how to get in this door. Most people who are the traditional mother-in-laws are, or father-in-laws or anybody who's not a gamer is going to go, I don't, can you turn the game on, or can you turn on, 60 Minutes or something? Because it's too much trouble. It's too much goddamn trouble. Will that change once the effects of the Epic versus Apple lawsuit kicks in? Well, Zizzle, yeah. What won't change is the amount of, in the same way that Sean Layden was saying that the money that the number of players that play console games hasn't really changed since the mid 90s or late 90s. The companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, who get the breakup of the pie, that tends to change generationally for the most part. But you're right, when it comes to the cell phone stuff or the mobile phone stuff, you're going to basically see more of the same amount. It will just be divvied up, but it's still going to be all these people playing in that space because everyone's got it. I know Zaf says mobile games are already doing this. Grandma doesn't want to play Uncharted. That's exactly right. But I'm talking about it in relation to Jim Ryan's point, which is Sony makes the best Sony games can hope for is 20 million sales. And it's not, there's no way to grow that because the very nature of the beast is grandma doesn't want to put the work in. She wants to sit down and make the pretty colors come, right? That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. I understand why cell phone games are great, but my point is, here's my bigger point. God damn it, Maverick. You've got the head of PlayStation. I mean, unless he's just keeping it close to his vest, he doesn't. I promise you he doesn't. It's too early. Unless you've got the head of PlayStation keeping this close to his fucking vest, how he's going to do it, he's basically saying, I want what the cell phone market has, but I want it to be with the games we make today. I don't see how that's possible until we have a absolutely almost singularity level of advancement to get the holodeck. Ricardo Estevez, the famous journalist you may know who broke the Watergate case, as well as talks about Ricardo. All right, that's Ricardo. It's a nightmare. It just sounds like you're continually farting in like a washing machine. So let me bring you back on in a second. See if you can fix that. Hello, Rotten. I did not get a new camera. I just turned up the resolution. I'm kind of a moron. Mona says, as a grandma who started playing a couple years ago, everything you're saying is spot on. Right. I'm not. By the way, I don't disagree with Jim Ryan. There's nothing like a great video game to immerse you. Oh, that's what he wants. He has not been fed. Thank you, baby. Look, there's nothing like a great video game to totally wrap you up and take you places that no other medium can. But it's gonna take more doing than that. It's gonna take more doing than that than just wanting it. You're gonna have to change what a game is to get these grandmas on. I use my iPad with controller mount and remote play, says Lord Garth. Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but you're still a gamer. Most people don't engage with games on iPads that way. Brian King says Wipeout. I guess you're talking about the mobile version, which is like a card game, right? Wipeout is kind of the test for it, I guess. Play some abstract game and then the action plays after. Yeah, I haven't played that, but is that what happens? You play an abstract game and then the racing is just a movie based on how well you played? All right, Ricardo, let's try it again, bud. Ricardo, are you there? Yeah, so here's what I think's happening, Ricardo, for whatever it's worth, man. Hang on, let me pop you out. So first off, the sound is coming through on a delay, which means you're probably watching on the YouTube, and that's where your sound's coming from. But also, there's this static where I can only hear it basically in the background. So it may be a mic problem. You might want to replug in your mic and let me know. Okay, in the meantime, though, and I'm sure, look, Ricardo's our embedded journalist on the beat. He's out there in the world making things happen, coming back to us with all kinds of shady secrets and shit. Well, we'll see what he has to say. In the meantime, I want to talk about Kotaku a little bit. Now, I never thought. Well, that's not true. I'm not one of these. Look, I'm not like one of these Kotaku haters like a lot of people are. I don't tend to like them. I tend to think they are obnoxiously, like, and as Mr. K will tell you, I'm one of the most progressive people you're gonna meet, right? So I'm a fan of social justice warrioring and all that shit. But Kotaku, I think, just goes on and on about it to such a degree that it's divisive and it's polarizing and it's problematic, okay? And I don't even believe they believe half the shit they say. So I have problems with them for sure. But in this case, you might remember this, okay? This was last month. There was a reporter coming out from Kotaku, Ethan Gatch, okay? And let me maybe preface this for a brief moment and tell you that, and this may still be the case, if we can get the tech worked out with Ricardo, he can clarify. But when I was in the industry, previews used to be, like, PR would always tell developers, don't worry about the previews. They don't write negative previews, right? They know that in order to get access to these early games, they know they're in development and they're not going to go out there and talk about bugs or problems or whatever. So previews were always positive if you go back to the days of magazines, and even to some extent, if not an entire extent now, meaning the whole thing now, not extent. But this guy, this Ethan fella, last month, he says, look, man, he got nailed last month for an article. This is what he said. He says, Far Cry 6. He's talking about Far Cry 6. Let me try Ricardo real quick. Hang on. And then I will bring in Ethan, not Ethan Gash, but I will talk about Ethan Gash. Ricardo, are you there? All right, well, you're on if you can hear me chime in. Okay, so here's what he says. Far Cry 6, this is his article, is over a month away. And while there remains plenty we don't know yet, a massive batch of hands-on previews dropped this week across various gaming outlets and influencer videos, shedding more light onto the game. So this was when Ubisoft let a lot of people play it last month, beginning of last month. The problem is what they illuminate and what they don't, says Gatch. They paint Far Cry 6 as the latest predictable... Are you there? Yeah, it's not working, buddy. Sorry, Ricardo. I'm not sure what's going on. So, okay, the problem is what they illuminate and what they don't. They paint Far Cry 6 as the latest predictable blockbuster, albeit one with aspirations of saying something meaningful about revolution and the oppression that spurs it. Does it sound familiar? The previews seem to just be there to tell us whether the shooting is good and what novel ways Ubisoft has found to dress up its to-do list icon-filled map rather than to interrogate why we should expect anything more from Far Cry this time around. What I've heard much less about, if anything at all, is what Far Cry 6 does to prevent itself from feeling like, this is still Gatch, feeling like another gory vacation to an exoticized country created by a Canadian studio under the umbrella of a French company. Maybe that's by design. Narrative payoffs are an easy thing to hide from preview demos under the auspices of not spoiling anything. Maybe it's because, at its core, Far Cry 6 remains fundamentally a game about finding cool and chaotic new ways to blow shit up. These underlying tensions should be at the heart of deciding what Far Cry 6 might be and whether it will be worth engaging with, meaning in the previews that people are writing. But somehow, in the year of our Lord 2021, such concerns are still mostly relegated to the written equivalent of a grimace emoji buried a few paragraphs from the end. Okay, so, and he got nailed for this, right? I mean, even my good pal, who I just think is the knees bees, Colin Moriarty, laid into this guy on Twitter. And I don't know this guy. He could be a shit reporter. He could be a shit journalist. I'm not defending anything other than the fact that he was right. And I made a video saying he's right. And people were like, oh, Jaffe, it's not trying to be a political game. What are you talking about? It's fun, blah, blah, blah. He finishes by saying Far Cry 6's tale of revolutionary politics in the face of post-colonial exploitation seems ill-suited to the incentives, constraints, and bloodlust of a first-person shooter, and even worse fit for a company like Ubisoft with a long track record of trying to sanitize its products for mass consumptions, okay? So, but then the reviews start coming out, and I'll save you, I'm not going to read them all to you, but I'll read you a couple of them. Okay, tell me, it might be me. Let me bring in Spaz. Spaz, you there?
Oh, hello.
I can hear Spaz fine. Let me bring in Ricardo. Ricardo, are you there?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Now I can hear you. Maybe it's like in Fire Emblem where you have to be standing next to Spaz to get your powers.
Maybe.
All right, well, what's up, Ricardo? Go.
So I was calling because of the EA stocks.
Yes, shoot.
I didn't catch what you said the cause was.
Well, the article, which was from, where did I get that article from? The article that was from, actually a couple of places, said that on Reddit, the complaints were the specialists in the game are very hard to tell who they are on the battlefield, so you don't really understand what's happening in the game in terms of who can heal you. And they also had a problem with the visual language of your enemy. People were shooting their own teammates because they all looked the same. And they were saying whether or not that was the reason, that was what caused a huge number of threads on Reddit that created a negative vibe, that created uncertainty in the market, that caused the stock to drop about 7-8%.
Oh, no. There's nothing to do with that.
Well, I'm telling you what the article says. So you tell me.
Those guys are wrong. So basically, I'm not sure you're aware. EA yesterday or today for you, announced that they are considering dropping the FIFA license
I did.
for their
Yes,
football game.
I did see that, but I
So
thought
that was very probably the cause. Not
But I thought that was.
Battlefield.
I thought that was yesterday. Didn't they get hammered in the stock yesterday for that reason?
It was announced today, I think.
I don't know. Let me know. I could have sworn I saw that yesterday. But again, my sleep schedule's off. You may be right. But that's okay. So there you go. That's very interesting. So you're saying this has nothing to do, even though. Okay, let me ask.
I guess not. It's by far the most.
Profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even comparable.
So would you say that it would make sense to you that when this article says that the stock price went down a month ago or so, when EA was suggesting the reason that they may delay Battlefield, that would be enough to spook the stocks? But you don't think a bunch of people online saying we played the beta this weekend and it's not very good, that wouldn't really move that needle, you don't think?
Maybe a little bit, but I would say they mentioning dropping the FIFA license is by far a more likely cause.
It sounds that makes logical sense to me. Let me just look this up while you're on the phone real quick. EA's stock falls. Let me just see if
Sure. I mean, they've been FIFA since forever.
Okay, so this is Barron's is the one that has the article, and then and this was 4 hours ago. This is from Barron's, which is a pretty reputable site. Reddit comments hit EA stock earlier this week, but it wasn't the usual suspects moving the stock. Rather, the users of popular Wall Street Bets Reddit forum were commenting on the stock. It was instead gamers reacting to the Battlefield game. Their views were harsh, which likely sent shares falling on Wednesday. This is from a guy named Connor Smith. I should just tweet him and go, "Hey, Ricardo says you're wrong." I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way. I'm going to make a hat that says I trust Barron's, but I trust Ricardo more. Because what you're saying does make a little bit more sense than what the Barron's are saying.
It might have been small news on your side of the world, but around here it was really big. I mean,
well, it wasn't small. It wasn't.
FIFA,
It wasn't
FIFA
small
name.
news. I saw it, but I didn't think it would. I didn't see any. I didn't see any stories that hit the stock. But I appreciate you giving some insight into it. If I had a gun to my head and someone said what was the main reason, I would say that that's kind of what it is. Although Joe in the chat says EA's FIFA license is due in 2022. And the 2021 FIFA just came out. So why would you get out now if that was the reason? But I don't fucking know, man. It's speculative.
I think I believe they don't actually want to lose it. I think this is more of a way of putting pressure on FIFA themselves to drop price, I guess.
Did you play the Battlefield beta yet?
No, it was enough to watch it.
Yeah, I was like, I'll be playing more Insurgency though. All right, Ricardo, thanks.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Of the three, Halo is by far the one that I'm more interested in.
I've never been a Halo guy, and that beta, and I didn't even play the big battle beta, but the beta really made me a fan for sure. All right, Ricardo, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Call back anytime as always, sir.
Hey, Jeffy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Spaz. Thanks for making that work. Okay, now listen, let's go back to yeah, that's right. Mr. K says Ricardo's our official G&G news contributor. That's right. Coming in hot from Argentina, we have Ricardo, who's been embedded with the troops of Electronic Arts. He's here to tell us what he sees on the ground. I don't know why a reporter would ever sound that way. That's horrible. It sounds like he's drunk, which a lot of reporters are. Ricardo, do you have a drinking problem? Anyway, let's move on. Not making fun of that. There's probably people out there watching this right now that genuinely have drinking problems. I got to tell you something. There's an industry pal of mine, guy I have great affection for, and suddenly, all of a sudden, he starts posting, what are they called? Chips or tokens of sobriety from AA, which, of course, I was very happy about and thrilled about. But I didn't know this guy was an alcoholic. He's like, I'm not, Jeffy. I just like the meetings. I didn't know. But anyway, let's go back to talking about the the Far Cry. So these are the Portugal, Afghanistan. It's all the goddamn same, Mr. K. You're either in America or you're not. He says that's where, he says he's not in Argentina, he's in Portugal. Like it matters. They're all the same. You either have New York and Times Square in LA or you're shit. Am I right, boys? Yeah. Listen to me. This is what some of the reviewers are saying. Going back to this guy from Kotaku that I'm telling you, he was right. Ethan Gatch, right? He says, my biggest problem with Far Cry 6, this is VentureBeat now, is it clearly wants to be about something, and even after hours and hours of playing it, I don't know what it is. I think years of taking inspiration from politically fraught, real-world scenarios has bewitched Ubisoft into thinking Far Cry is some kind of smart political thriller. That would be fine, except Ubisoft will not do any of the work it would take to actually make Far Cry 6 that kind of game. That is from VentureBeat. Polygon says, unfortunately, Far Cry 6 continues the series' tiring tradition of presenting itself as political on the surface while fumbling any attempts at meaningful critique. Like Far Cry 5, which was postured itself as an exploration of white supremacy in the U.S., but fell flat in execution, Far Cry 6 is a game in which you rescue refugees by using a weapon that plays the Macarena when you're aiming down its sights. GameSpot. They gave it a 7 out of 10. They are in process of reviewing it. Far Cry really gets close to having something interesting to say. There's the corporate president who takes advantage of Yaren, which is the country, the fictional country, which is just like, Argentina, which, let's be clear, is just like Portugal. There's the corporate president that takes advantage of Yaren poverty to make billions. There's the major insistent implication that Castillo, who's the bad guy, doesn't just target poor and political, but also LGBT folks as well, as one character insists that even if he joins up in the battle against the regime and you win, he'll still be trans in Yara, and his revolution will continue, likely with a lot less support. But the game never really wants to engage with any of these ideas too deeply, and even after you hit the credits, there's a live game engine at work that'll keep you, live game, meaning service game, that'll keep you fighting that same military week after week as they retake bases and checkpoints you've already liberated. Far Cry 6 might want to say something about something, but it's not sure what it is, and it never really finishes its point. Right? So, Far Cry 5, says Brian King, the theme of Far Cry 5 is there are fine people on both sides. Rohan, I'll bring you in just a second, buddy. I see you there. Lord Garth says, this is totally not about Far Cry, but I have ADD, so fuck off. He says, my alcoholic buddy tried to get me to go to the AA meetings because of all the hot women there. Yeah, but can you imagine? Well, I mean, they're at a meeting. That means they want to turn their life around. That's pretty good. Okay, so listen to this, though. Okay, so, do I want to read you that? No, you get the gist. But then there's even some stories coming out like about PETA this afternoon, a few hours ago. PETA, the protection of ethical treatment of animals or what have you. I mean, they protested Twist Metal 1, so they're always up in it. But there's a cockfighting video mini game in this game, and they're not the only ones. There was an article on, I think it was Gamer Revolution, about how problematic this was as well. Not the fact that there is a cockfighting game, but it's like, look, pick a fucking lane, right? You are either a serious story, and in such, you've got the cockfighting looking like it's like clay fight or like it's silly and something to make fun of, or this is a serious fucking problem. Hang on a sec. Yeah. You're here? Okay. Or it's a serious fucking problem, right? And PETA has said, hey, we want you to take it out. I don't think they have to. They have every right to put it in the game if they want. But they are basically, it's just one more example of how this game and ultimately this company struggles or seems to want to wear the cloak of artistry and importance and political discourse, but really doesn't have a pot to piss in, or if they do, they're not letting their people with the pot piss in it. And so, I just wanted to call that out because not only was Kotaku right, but I was right. I think these companies need to be pushed on this. Just like I've said, when VentureBeat had Bobby Kotick on stage a few months ago, they should have pushed him on a bunch of the shit that Activision and, more importantly, him are being accused of, right? They didn't want to do that. That's not the place, Jaffe, for previews. Previews are not the place for people to push Ubisoft. Really? You're sitting in a meeting virtually with the Ubisoft people. They're telling you about the game. You're playing it. You're not seeing any of the political, scenarios that it clearly wants to be about. You shouldn't ask them that question. And let's be clear, by the way, it really doesn't matter. You know why? Because I'm seeing it in the chat right now. I'm seeing it in the reviews. I'm seeing it, even Kotaku itself put out an op-ed about this. I think it was the same guy, this Ethan guy, saying, oh my God, Ubisoft, find a new fucking formula. We're all getting sick of it, right? They're bloated. They're overly long. It's collection quest, all this. And yet, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the best-selling Assassin's Creed they've ever fucking made, okay? I have a feeling Far Cry 6 is probably going to do pretty well. Maybe the only way to really solve this is just make better products, and eventually the gamer who doesn't really know any better, because it's not their job to know any better, they're just like, fuck it, Far Cry, I'm having a good time with my friends blowing shit up. Yeah, it's samey. Eventually, if they don't freshen up the formula, there'll be diminishing returns. But maybe what people like me and Ethan and maybe some of these reviewers are really complaining about is not so much Far Cry 6, because you can have a great war movie like Saving Private Ryan or Coming Home or The Deer Hunter or Platoon, and it's still about war, and then you can have just a fucking fun war movie, right? I don't think this would be so much of a problem if it didn't try to pretend it was something more than it was, and there were games that actually did deal with war and politics in a more mature way. I think then maybe it would be a little bit more parody with film or television, but instead we just get shit like this, and I think it's just fucking crap. Now listen, here's Rohan of the Cincinnati Rohans. Rohan, it's Jaffe. How you doing, man? Rohan, are you there? Okay, well, if you're not there, just
hear me?
I can hear you now. What's going on, man?
What's going on? Hey, so there's a bit of a delay between YouTube and the show, but
yeah, you should not be. Don't be listening on YouTube.
So how do I listen to you live
on the Discord? Turn up the volume on the Discord. Mute the YouTube.
Which channel are you in?
I'm in the channel you're in. Call in show channel. I pulled you in here.
Yeah, but I mean I couldn't hear you until
because I didn't.
Anyway,
yeah,
it doesn't. We're on live now.
All right, cool.
Okay, so. I was listening to you. You're talking about Kotaku, Far Cry 6, and I agree with you. I think Kotaku is kind of obnoxious.
I agree. Yeah.
But I have to say that I mean, I don't think they really took a risk going out there labeling Far Cry 6 what it is. I think we could all see that a mile away.
Wait a minute. I don't agree with that, because when I made a video about this and I tweeted about this, I had very few defenders going, oh, well, yeah, Jaffe, we know it's bullshit. We're just cool with it. Most people's response to my tweets, which was about Ethan's getting a shellacking on the part of other journalists, and like Reset Era, which had a whole thread about this. My point was that, or their response to my point was, Far Cry never tries to be that, Jaffe. What are you talking about? They don't want to be that. They're just a fun game. And it's like, no, go back and watch their trailers, watch their cinematics, listen even to the creative director that said, yes, you can't make a game like this and not make it political. So I don't know if I would agree with you that everybody isn't upset about this because they know that Far Cry always lies about this shit. Maybe they do, but that's not what they were saying when they were piling on this reporter.
Well, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that like the people that are coming out and saying like, you know, it's stale, it needs to change, you know, it's very formulaic.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but wait. Are you saying everybody knows that?
About Far Cry?
About just the Ubisoft formula in general.
I mean, I think people know it, but I mean, I don't know if people really talk about it like that.
But do they care? Because it doesn't change their buying habits. I mean, Ubisoft...
No, they don't care. They don't care. I mean, right. People complain about Madden. People complain about FIFA every year, but I mean, they buy it. So, but what I'm saying is that like this, I really want to get back to Kotaku, right? I mean,
okay,
yeah,
all right, go.
People gave them stuff for this, but my issue, right, and the reason why I called into it because I did like the point you made where it's like, you know, they it's almost like they try hard to be divisive, to find something to nitpick, to complain about, to like throw arms up out. So there was a game that came out a couple of weeks ago called Eastward, right?
It's called what?
Eastward.
Oh, Eastward. Yeah, it came out from China. I know that game. Yeah.
Yeah, PC and Switch, right?
Yeah.
Pixpill, right?
Yep.
So pixel art style, very cute story, you know. And I don't know, you should go check out the review Kotaku did.
Okay.
They made us think about how the game was transphobic, it was fatphobic because of the way certain characters are depicted, because of one of the storylines. Just like, you know, they're saying, oh, well, you know, this guy went into like this dissertation on how he interpreted the themes playing out to mean that the game was essentially hiding the gays or putting down the gays and all the characters.
Well, okay, let me stop you before you get into more detail because I haven't played it. Have you played it?
Yes, I played it. I finished it. I liked it. I thought the story. Go ahead.
No. I was going to ask you: do you think the guy from Kotaku or the lady from Kotaku had were their complaints valid?
I don't think so at all. I was reading this like really seriously. Like they like. Here's the thing. There's actively like they show a I mean, and it's implied. I mean, they heavily show it, right? They show two female characters that are clearly have romantic romantic interest in each other, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and it's not shamed. There's not any way at all. It somewhat ends in a tragedy. Okay. And the writer took that to mean that, oh well, because that relationship ended in tragedy, the game was saying that this is something that shouldn't happen. The game was saying that the one of the characters that becomes an antagonist at one point, because she was made an antagonist, that means that you know that was spun as, oh well, the gay person was bad. And the characters, there are some trans characters that are like, you know, NPCs in the world, right? There's nothing that's like blatantly set out there to be like, you know, oh well, you know, it's hateful. They're just characters. They're all colorful characters. The game aesthetic itself is like kind of is kind of
it looks like Gravity Falls to me. I'm looking at it right now. It looks awesome, like visually.
Yeah, it's awesome. It has a lot of like Earthbound influence. It has like some Zelda influence to it. The game is awesome. The music is awesome.
But I think well, okay, but I mean, I'm reading this. It says Eastward seems to have some pretty uncomfortable feelings around bodies. Fat people are one of two things. They're villains or punchlines. The game's first mayor does not walk, he trundles. He's slow and hulking and greedy. In a town of starving people, he is the one who eats. His fatness is how you know he's evil.
No.
These depictions extend. If the character's body looks weird, they will be a different kind of strange from the characters around them. Everyone in Eastward is odd, which is what makes the game charming, but so frequently fatness is treated as the odd thing. The game has similar feelings around queer-coded men. To give an example from the late game, there are a few maids with beards trying to advertise a bakery by yelling at people on the street. And instead of Eastward treating this as a setup for jokes, it uses the guys with beards as punchlines, which is disappointing. Playing with gendered performance and expectations can be funny, but Eastward's deployment of queerness feels punitive and frequently disgusted.
So as actually playing that game, now granted, I'm not an expert at by any means, right? But I think that the author that was reaching so hard to find something to complain about, because if you actually go through and read most of the review, they don't talk about the actual game. They go into like this long diatribe about, like I said, breaking down how one of the characters, you know, their ultimate fate determines that, you know, they weren't supposed to be together, and they start talking about a movie and how, like, you know, it represented that. The whole thing with like the NPC characters that they talk about that were trans, there's no punchline there. They're outside the bakery.
I mean, I was gonna avoid it because I know it's funded by Tencent, which is, you know, I mean, look, part of my guard is up with this game anyway because of what's happening in China regarding the government coming out and saying we don't want emasculated men in our games, we don't want LGBT stuff in our games. We don't want anything critical of our government in our games, and this is a game that's basically funded by the Chinese government, right? And so if it turned out that what Kotaku is saying is accurate, then I would say that, you know, there is a little smoke there. It may or may not be fire, but they're being funded by a company that is in the back pocket of a government that's basically said, this is how you need to behave in your content, you know?
Yeah, but you wouldn't think that by like pointing through the game, because first of all, like the article would make you see, and that's the other issue I had too, right? Because I was after completing it, I was like looking to see like, okay, well, I want to see like other people talk about some of the themes or exploring the game, and they took, which I think is just such a small like misrepresentation of the game, really, because it has nothing to do with like the story, nothing to themes. Like I said, just about every character in that game is odd. Like they're charming too, right? Like they're all oddballs. You know, they look different, and then for them to say like, oh well, the fat characters, oh they're bad automatically. That is such a reach.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's what I'll say. I mean, I would have to play it to have an opinion on it. I think it does it does look charming. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It looks really cool. But what I will also say, and you can agree or disagree with this, but I have found that the way progress tends to work is the people who feel, whether they're fat or trans or gay or black or Jews or Muslim or whatever, the people that feel put upon are the ones, finally, it takes too long, but finally the ones that start to complain. And at first, a lot of the people who are, you know, either specifically responsible or complicit by way of saying nothing will kind of go, oh, these people are overreacting. You know, this is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Until ultimately it eventually gets through that this is kind of mean, right? I mean, I'm you know, when I was younger, you know, I used to do, when I was like in junior high, I would have like, you know, the traditional stereotypical gay voice I would do, you know, that was like, ha ha ha, isn't that funny? We're all, you know, it wasn't that I was making fun of homosexuals. I didn't know any homosexuals. It was just like, isn't that a funny voice? I've seen people on TV do that and get laughs, and all my friends would laugh, right? And it wasn't until I met some gay people, that my brother came out as gay, that I was just like, oh my God, I get that that's really hurtful. And this stuff is so insidious that it gets into our popular culture and it sustains that kind of cruelty, which is unintentional. And so I'm even though I have big problems with Kotaku, like it sounds like you do, I am absolutely of the mind that, or I'm not of the mind that I'm not as quick to jump on, oh, they're just sort of being social justice and they're trying to cancel everyone. I think there is truth in that, but I think as often as that being true, it's also the fact that people don't want to hear that their behavior is hurting other people.
I mean, I think that's like a different topic. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that them writing this article, and by the way, I was looking for like, you know, going through, just looking for like, you know, people talking about the game, talking about the story, talking about the characters. Kotaku was the only site I found that like brought this stuff up.
Sure.
And I don't know, maybe that doesn't mean anything, but I think that the mean is like, man, so you guys would be the ones that would, rather than talk about the game, you know, reach and just like blow this stuff up to make it seem like, I mean, I saw people in the comments talking about, oh, thanks for Kotaku for bringing this up. I'm not going to give them my money because I know they're fat phobic and transphobic.
Well, like, again, I mean, but that, I know, I understand, but I mean, Kotaku, I mean, again, I don't read it. I read it for my stream to get news and stuff to talk about, but you know, Kotaku may just not be for everyone in that sense. I think their new editor, Patricia Hernandez, who I don't know, and I don't know if I would like her, and I don't know if she would like me, or if we would agree on much of anything, but it's clear Kotaku for a while has started to say, we're not really trying to be IGN. You can get just a general review anywhere. We are the site that basically says, look, we're very left-leaning. We view things through that lens. We find that entertaining. We find that something we're passionate about. And if you kind of agree with that political agenda, you know, come to us. Just like if you're not sort of a far-right guy, you're probably not going to be reading, what is it, the Daily Stormer or the Daily Beast or one of those far-right rags either. So I hear you, and I am not ready to give Kotaku a lot of leeway because I think they've done some awful shit and some really clickbaity shit. But on the part of the guy who reviewed Far Cry,
oh, absolutely, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they may have, and I think the whole cockfighting thing that came out, I was like, oh my god, what are you guys doing? Like this is.
Well, that wasn't Kotaku. That was PETA, and that was, I think.
No, I know, but it was like in the previews, like this. I was like, oh man, these guys are going to invite controversy with this. Like,
I guess it looks like they are. So we'll see. All right, Rohan, always good to talk to you. Please, sir, call back anytime. I'll always get you on. All right, thanks, man.
Take care.
There goes Rohan into the night, fellas. Okay, I want to show you something, and then I want to talk about. Hang on a second. Let me move this over. There we go. I want to talk about Tim Schafer. This kind of ties into what Rohan a little bit was talking about. There's a lot of people who talk about video games that talk about self-censorship and companies censoring and all this stuff. Tim Schafer was a speaker at the International Games Summit on mental health recently, and he said some interesting stuff that I want to talk about, and I will play that for all you fine sons of bitches as soon as we get back from these two ads from our God of War tier sponsors. Here you go. Here you go. Fellas and Filettis, I want to tell you about some of my favorite video game merch on the planet. Honestly, it's pretty cool these days that lawyers ain't going after individual work-for-hire artists, at least usually. But what that means is we get the brilliance that is Rotten Tanuki's Day One Patch Kids. Just about anything can be plastered with these insane afterbirth of the Garbage Pail Kids smushed together with video game icons that you love. Stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, hell, they even got stickers and stuff of my boys, Kratos and Sweet Tooth. I love them. It's great, cool stuff made by a great, cool dude. It is Rotten Tanuki's Day One Patch Kids. Get some today, or they'll fucking kill you in your sleep. That's actually, I don't know if that's true because they're stickers and they don't do that. But still, go to the website, check it out. It's good stuff. Buy some. All right, now I want to tell you something real quick. This is live now, but I have to tell you something. There's another one of our great sponsors, and I got to tell you something because you guys have done, I won't, Ricardo, I'll get your chat in just a second. You guys have really, I'll tell you what you've done in just a second, but it's a good thing. But let me tell you about this thing first. And by the way, Wolfblood, fuck off. I will tell you something, Wolfblood, about the horror stuff. Ask me again in a minute, and I'll talk about that, the horror streams. Okay. I want to talk about the Leetest podcast. It's a new podcast where friends play games about games. Video games, of course, you knuckleheads. These guys take classic games and they take classic game show games, trivia, debate wars, and more, and make them all about video games. I will be recording this, but stick with me because there's good news that will make you want to pat yourself on the stupid back. Here's a couple of games they play on the show, by the way. Synonyms, okay? It's a game where you're given a title of a game, but in synonym form. For example, Corrupt Ingot would get you... I'll wait for the chat. I'll give you another example. Maybe that one's too easy. How about Remarkable Flaming or Terminator Sentiment? Think on those, see if you can figure them out. I'll give you an answer in a minute, okay? But Corrupt Ingot, for example, would get you Twisted Metal, okay? So what do you think Remarkable Flaming or Terminator Sentiment would get you, all right? There's another one called Movie Smash Up. You get the plot of a movie and a video game smushed together to make a title. For example, I'll give you some examples. Full service stream right here, babies. An ex-CIA operative living in Mexico City must battle multiple robot foes to finally reach their creator, an eccentric evil scientist who is holding a young girl for ransom. That game and movie, that movie smash up would be called Mega Man on Fire. Mega Man on Fire. That's pretty good. An unlikely hero gets offered a position on a college football team, taking him off the sidelines where he clumsily served performance-altering jelly beans. Where he is... okay, that's called The Water Boy and His Blob. That's pretty good, too. That's pretty fucking good, too. Corrupt Ingot is Twisted Metal. Remarkable Flaming. What the fuck would Remarkable Flaming be? Remarkable Flaming. Unique. Hot. What is flaming? Terminator. End. Feelings. I don't know any of these. I'm terrible at these. Remarkable Flaming. What's another word for remarkable? Unique. Special. Does anybody know what this is? God damn it, Leetest, I don't know these two. Did you give me in the copy? Is there an answer somewhere? It doesn't matter. I'll get back to you with an answer later. But come up with your own questions for these games or your own games altogether and send them over to the guys at the Leetest podcast. And maybe they'll play your game on the show and give you a shout out and maybe even bring you on to compete yourself. Oh, super hot. There you go. That's pretty good, Peapod. Peapod got it. Remarkable Flaming is super hot. What about Terminator Sentiment? What's that? Good job, Peapod. while you're thinking about it, it's the Leetest. It's called at the Leetest on Twitter. Go check it out. You can also find the Leetest, Leetist, and you can find it on all major podcast platforms. One thing I want to say thank you to the community here at Gabbin' and Games. So, listen, we talked about this recently. We did an ad for these good folks, and they were doing this Family Feud game. And they had a survey that they wanted to send out to people to make the survey says questions, like on Family Feud. They got over 100 responses, and the episode where you play the Leetest feud is up now, and the vast majority of the data came from this community here. So you guys, thank you so much for engaging with the ads on this show, engaging with the God of War members, and making it worth it for those guys. I will put links up at the bottom of this show after it goes on YouTube that's not live, where you can find their website as well as you can find that particular episode, the Leetest feud. Okay, let me get to Ricardo's super chat that I missed, and then we will move on to talk about little Timmy Schafer. Ricardo wants to know, Jaffe, when are you going to play Death Stranding with Pot and stream it? I'm being, I don't have an answer for that. And I don't have an answer for that because ultimately I want to really give this game, which it sounds like is your game of the year, which is the director's cut version. I really want to give this game a chance, and I want to give myself a chance to fall in love with the game. And the last thing I really want to do is be dealing with being high and also trying to entertain a stream, and then kind of find myself in a situation where I just can't focus enough on the game because I'm doing all those things. So what I may end up doing with Death Stranding Director's Cut is play a few hours on my own and then do a stream. But I don't think I'll start it streaming because I don't think I'll be able to give it a fair shake. Okay. You're the one who's telling me it's a great fucking game, dude. Don't blame me. Don't fucking blame me. All right, hang on a second. You know what I think we'll do? Wolfblood says, don't play it, just stream it, put out a review. Yeah, or don't stream it, just play it. I'll probably start it, honestly, over the Thanksgiving holiday, though, because I'm trying to finish so many other fucking games, man. All right. Tim Schafer. Good Sir Tim Schafer. I'm a big fan of the guy as a human, and I'm a big fan of him as a creator. So he was at this International Games Summit on mental health. And I like this, what he said, because I think it's good to have developers speak out on this shit. Because I'm kind of tired of gamers thinking developers are being censored. It's always like, oh, the devs are, the publishers or whatever. And that there's no good, healthy censorship or self-censorship, right? So this is some of the stuff he said that I'm almost certain a lot of people would hear this and go, oh, that's fucking SJW bullshit, right? Let me tell you what he said. This is from the Game Industry Biz article. He says he pointed to one significant change as an example. In the original Psychonauts, Schafer says Raz, the main character, would jump into people's minds willy-nilly, paying no need to the inherent violation of the act. For the sequel, he gets consent first, meaning the character gets consent, except in cases of dire emergency. Schafer noted this also gave them a chance or an opportunity to use the dialogue exchanges to normalize the idea of seeking therapy, right? Even with our good intentions, he says, we have blind spots, and we know there are things we just don't know about. Words that are so common you don't think about, said Schafer. Like I had been saying, to that point as an aside, I'd been saying the word blank sucker, right? Or I've been saying the word cocksucker, but I've been saying it as a derogatory thing. And then I had a gay person point out to me, that's a anti-gay slur. And it's not really in the sense that, I mean, it is, because it's not meant to refer to a woman. At least when I say it, it was when I was a kid, when I was coming up, it wasn't like a woman doing it is bad. It was like, oh, you'd say it to a guy and that would be like, ha ha ha, you're gay, right? Well, I never thought about it until I thought about it. And like Tim Schafer's saying, we all have these blind spots. And he talks about bringing in consultants, which I think this is a really interesting way of putting it. He says there are lots of reasons to use consultants. They brought in therapists for this game, Psychonauts 2. The team is all too close to what they did to see how it's perceived by other people. And if someone on the team does raise a red flag about something, that voice can be silenced by the hierarchy of the project or some political reason. or they're worried about their job and don't want to say anything. But an outside person can tell the truth, basically, and not worry about any repercussions so they can be more honest about the game. I think that's great. The final self-censoring part, which I really fucking like. Schafer has heard people express concern about altering their creative work so as to protect a portion of the audience who would have an adverse reaction. Listen to that. Schafer has heard people, like on the internet, I've heard people in this very chat say the same thing, express concern about altering their creative work so as to protect a portion of the audience who would have an adverse reaction. He largely dismissed these concerns, saying good writers typically work with editors and take feedback without getting defensive. It's a learning thing people have to go through, says Schafer, realizing that intention is not as important as the impact of the words. I think a lot of us, he says, are shielded and live in this bubble. People who really fight for all that matters is my free speech and my creative integrity, those people live in a bubble where they haven't been harmed by anything like this ever. And they can't be harmed. It doesn't cause any memories for them to have certain words used. So why should anyone else care if they're shielded in my own mind? I'm a good person. I have great intentions. Therefore, I couldn't have done wrong. And you are wrong for being offended by my thing in my game. He says it's a learning thing that people have to go through, realizing the intention is not as important as the impact of words. I agree. Anything, even like the caller, Rohan, who I like very much, we just had talking about Kotaku talking about the Eastward review. It's like, to him, I have a trans son. I have trans and gay folk in my family. I'm an overweight guy. To me, fat phobia, anti-trans, anti-gay, those, for various reasons, hit close to home. And so I understand, even though I may or may not agree with Kotaku because I haven't played the game yet, I understand why people are saying, hey, it's important to bring this stuff up. And when people, when people push back on it, and I'll give you an example. There's somebody in the chat right now saying it. They get very defensive. So Nick, hello Nick. Nick says, how much should we be willing to change how we live in order to cater to the minority, especially when it comes to extreme minorities? When it comes to this stuff, Jaffe. Well, again, how hard is it? I guess becomes the question, right? I mean, so I know if someone dead names a trans person, which is using the name they were before they transitioned into who they are, or if someone fat shames somebody, I know those things are hurtful. If I tell someone that that's hurtful and they choose to do it anyway, well, they're just an asshole. The idea, it shouldn't be that hard, I guess, is the point. Just like it shouldn't be that hard for a bunch of white people not to say the N-word. I don't know why a lot of white people get so upset they can't say the N-word. You can say it, but you shouldn't because it's cruel. You can call people fat. I'd go to war for your right to call people fat and to make fun of trans people, gay people, Jewish people, Muslim people. You have every right. And in America, I would defend your right to do that. But you shouldn't, right? So when you ask Nick, how much should we be willing to change? Well, that's up to you. But my answer for my own personal life is I'm willing to change if it means I can be kinder to someone. Wolfblood says people are too damn sensitive. You can't say anything anymore. The coddling of society. Again, what? Look, you can say it, Wolfblood. But if I told you, out of the 8 gay people I know, 7 out of 8 of them all said, yeah, it's really offensive when people say cocksucker as a slur. Am I going to go, well, I'm not gay, so what do I know, right? I'm like, okay, I can believe them or not. And I could still legally say cocksucker all day long. Welcome to the cocksucker stream. I can do it all day long. No one can stop me. Except a private company that says you can't do that on our service. But you know what I'm saying. But why would I choose to do that? I wouldn't get canceled for that. I mean, even if I would, who gives a shit? I'm tired of people being afraid of being canceled too. People need to take to social media. If they get canceled for bullshit, the pendulum's swinging back on that cancel bullshit. Thank God. But yeah, I mean, end of the day though, you can say whatever the fuck you want. But why would you say it if you know it's harmful? I mean, why not just put a sign on your back that says I'm an asshole? Is it really that hard not to say things that hurt people? I don't understand. Goofy Rasta says, where are the white women at? Hook it up, says Goofy Rasta. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. But anyway, there you go. I liked a lot of what Timmy Schafer had to say about this. I think he's good people, and I'm a fan. Okay. Fellas, there you go. That is Gabbing of Games for October 7th, right? 2000, October 8th? I don't fucking know. Let me get Darth Nugget, though. Darth Nugget says, I will use people's pronouns and call them what they want, but at a certain point, this is just a bunch of narcissists that can't stop talking about themselves. But, I mean, that's different, right? I mean, there can be a black person in your life who's a narcissistic asshole, but you're still not going to call that person the N-word, right? I mean, there's a difference between judging them as a human and going, or a trans person or a gay person or whoever we're talking about, and saying, I don't like this part of your personality. You're a narcissistic asshole. Yeah, then call them out on that. But let's just take if it was a black person, because that's the most extreme word in America that we have, or one of them, you still wouldn't say you're a narcissistic N-word. You just say you're a narcissistic asshole. Right? I don't understand why one is related to the other. I will watch the Chappelle stand-up. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet. Jojo D, thank you so much for that great advertisement. I'm not plugging it because Brenda Romero, who is a phenomenal designer, who I cannot wait to speak with. I've talked to her numerous times, but I haven't talked to her on the stream. Was going to be on tomorrow for an interview, but there's a lot of shit going down at their company, Romero Games, out there in Ireland. And I believe we've rescheduled for next week or the week after. So I will let you know. In the meantime, happy birthday, Jojo D. Our very own Jojo D. He's all grown up. So anyway, but listen, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the new members. Thank you for just being here. I appreciate it. And listen, I probably, no guarantee, will be back later tonight, streaming either Metroid Dread, although now I'm hearing it's really hard, in which case I don't want to fucking play a hard game, or I will be playing some Insurgency Sandstorm. So there's no guarantee on that, but I'll tweet it out if I'm going to do that. But right now I'm going to go have dinner with the family, and I will see you guys tonight. If not tonight, I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you're well. Stay safe. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the mods. Thank you, Rob. Rob the mod. Good to see you back on here, and I'll see you.